Hi guys, Happy New Year 2025 and welcome back to the channel. So much for tuning in today. What I wanted to do with this video is just go through my plans for the layout in 2025. I feel like I kind of made some progress with some building work and some scratch building, but haven't made a huge amount of progress actually on the layout track work itself. So I've decided to sort of divide the layout into 3 sections, and I'm going to work on one particular section this year in 2025 and try and get that to a good standard and to a good finish by the end of the year. That's my plan anyway. So without further ado, let me take you through my plans, what I'm thinking of doing, and how I'm going to do it. Right, so the area I want to focus on is this section here, which covers the postal depot up to where the footbridge is. I thought if I can concentrate on this section, I've got a good chance of getting this section done. So what I want to do is get this bridge sorted, because I realise actually, because we've got these larger buildings here and here, once this section, that section is done, this part here will look quite flat. So I want to try and balance it out a little bit, and I had an idea, and I'll show you some photos that I've printed off from Google, is having a bit more of a bridge, something a little bit more interesting at this end of the layout. So this is colour and black and white. I'm not sure which one stands out the best, but this is roughly what I'd like to do. I could scratch build this and actually just move that away and have that built on top of what's already there, and just make that section a little bit more interesting. Or should I leave it completely open and just have some railings across and have like a really simple bridge? Comments welcome on this. Any ideas would be great. So over on this section over here, I'm going to build this up. It's going to be a mountain. In fact, I'm actually going to build it up so it goes over the top of the non-scenic section here. So this will be like a tunnel going round into the fiddle yard. And I'm going to build a big mountain going over the top, so the hills will just rise gently here, just to make that end look a little bit better, rather than sort of cutting the scene off straight along there. Kind of try and build it over a little bit, so at least it looks a little bit more realistic on that edge. I think the river I'll tackle probably at the end, build at the banks first, and then I've never done anything with resin for rivers, so that's something I've got to really think about. Then I'd like to really try and get the postal depot finished. I started building this and probably about, I don't know, 4 years ago. So I'd really like to try and get that done. I'm going to replace the platform on the front. I'm really not particularly happy with how I've done that, and I think my modelling skills are probably up a little bit better now than what they were, so I'm going to replace that. Obviously there's roof to fit and a number of roofing details to add as well, like little aerials, air conditioning units, and I think some like small skylights in the various sections as well. But I would really like to try and get that done. There's also like an awning that goes along here on the real thing, So I'd like to try and get that added as well, and all the windows need sorting, so there's a lot to do on that. But what I'll focus on first is just getting this new building finished, which is the office depot. There'll be a little bit about how I've done the girders and the joists later on in this video, so please bear with me to watch that. Hopefully you'll find that interesting on how I built those. And then there'll be some ballasting. I've also want to try and get the footbridge finished as well. There's still quite a bit of detail to add on that. These railings just here, I'd like to cut those off and replace those with something a little bit more simpler, so that section will look a little bit nicer as well, and a bit more in keeping with the footbridges that I've seen on various cab ride videos. I'm also going to simplify the track work here. I don't like the way the rolling stock runs across this double slip, or single slip as it is, so I'm going to remove the slip. This will be added to here, so there'll just be one entry straight in there, and then we'll just have to imagine that there's a crossover further down the line, possibly in the tunnel or on the other side. So that's my various plans. Should keep me occupied and hopefully keep you guys entertained as well with how that's progressing, along with ballasting and a bit more on the track work as well, which I'll detail and update along the way. So first of all, I need to draw out the template for the girder. For this, I'm using my stainless steel straight edge plastic set square, a sheet of A4 paper and a well sharpened pen, or pencil should I say. First of all, drawing the line across, making sure it's nice and straight, and then marking out each edge of the outer edges of the girder. Then from here I'll just mark out in a similar fashion each of the upright sections as I go. So now I've got my plan drawn up, I need to start making up the different sections to build up this sort of end girder structure for the depot. And for this I'm going to use Evergreen's 1mm by 1mm. It's probably the smallest I can use for it not to be too flimsy once it's built. So it's number 142 from Evergreen. So yeah, again, it's going to be the smallest I can use for it still to be relatively strong. Once it's in place on the building, it should be absolutely fine. And when the joists for the roof are added as well, this should make up a relatively strong structure. So I'll start cutting out some parts and I'll come back and give you a little bit of an update on how that's working out. Right, so first piece cut out, which will run along the bottom. Just there. That looks pretty good. That looks like it might need just a tiny bit of filing, just to make sure that's perfectly square. It's good to get this bit right. No problems in cutting it a tiny bit longer than what it should be, because you can always trim at the ends. But that looks pretty good. Right, so the next sections to cut are these uprights here and here. We'll just grab the next section. We'll just mark that out across the line there, make sure it's nicely up against that, and then we'll mark it at an angle with a pencil there, and theoretically should let's cut straight down there like that. There we go. Oops, fall over.
quite fiddly, but it's worth the effort. So just tie that end up with the file there to make sure we get the right way around before we start cutting that. So there we go. Just gonna get a little bit of the file, just get the edges off this sandpaper. Right, that should fit on there quite nicely. Grab my tweezers. That's the wrong way around. Just get the right way around. Otherwise it will look pretty awful. There we go. There we are. Second piece there. That looks pretty good. Right. Let's work our way around, shall we? Next section to cut off. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to give that a little bit of an angle. Actually, in fact, the angle, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but the angle we've cut here when we were cutting that part should theoretically be okay for there. That fits nice. I'm going to do another little marker there. No, that doesn't work. Don't worry about having to do it twice. It's always good to cut these parts. Or make sure you measure a couple of times to make sure it's all right. What I might do is actually I'm going to stick that piece on. I'm going to glue these two parts first and then do that, and I'm going to come back to you. So here's the girder glued in place on the model. I think it looks pretty good. Quite pleased with how that's turned out. And I've also added in these cross support joists along here. These have been made up with using 1.5mm Evergreen I-beam, so that's worked out really well. They do come over the front a little bit because the roof seems to overlap the front of the girder. All in all, I think that's looking pretty good so far. There we go. I'll keep you posted with the next part of the progress. There you are, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate all the subscriptions I get. And also don't forget to turn on the notification bell. I'll leave you with another little running shot of my BLS RE44, which is fast becoming my favourite locomotive on the layout. So I'll leave you with a nice little running shot of that, and look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Cheers for now.